Hi, I'm Ashley, and you are listening and watching Confidence in Coffee. What if I was to tell you that you can find confidence despite any of your circumstances, good or bad? I'm going to help you navigate the waters of womanhood, whatever season that is in, whether it's marriage, singleness, or you're drowning in children. I'm going to help you find confidence and hope through Christ. I'm going to leave you with plenty of encouragement and practical tips to overcome those limiting beliefs so you can live a life well. Plus, you know we're going to find a few laughs along the way. So grab your favorite cup of coffee and join me as we chat confidence in coffee. Hey, welcome to Confidence in Coffee. I am your host, Ashley Henriott, and you've probably connected with me on Instagram or TikTok, but I also have a podcast. And so I'm glad you kind of made your way over here. And with that, I want to offer you a few free things, and then I'm going to get into what we're going to talk about today. The first thing is that I'm going to give you 30% off my private community. I have an SMS community where we text, I text you, and then you're going to be a part of a great Facebook group with other like-minded women where we share encouragement, and the text messages are full of encouragement and resources and devotional time with me. And I'm so excited to kind of give you that extra bit of what I can't give on social media. And then also I'm going to drop a free devotional. It's a 5-day devotional and guide to a 5 days to a more confident you and how you truly can walk confident in Jesus Christ. And so those are my things to you just for making it over here. I'm so excited to talk to you today. Today we are going to be talking about pain brings purpose, and that there is reason for our pain. And if we kind of embrace the fire, it's going to cook up something really good within us. I had it on my heart a while ago, and I just got affirmation this morning that that was definitely something I needed to talk about with you guys. I was just in my devotional time, and I just really have been going through a hard time. Like, I try to keep it real and be as transparent as I possibly can. And I was just had a really emotionally difficult time. And I get really discouraged when I sometimes see things just not working out, right? I want to talk about that. I made an analogy in sharing my devotional this morning about how God wants to trade our stress for his peace, trade our pain for peace. He loves to make those exchanges. He loves to take on, and he has done it since he created us, right? And the prime example of him taking on our pain and our stress is him taking on our punishment. And that was through the cross of Jesus Christ. And so that is something that he just wants to do as our Father in heaven, as our comforter. Gosh, he loves us. I don't think we can comprehend how much he loves us. And as I was sharing just a little bit of my devotional this morning with my community, I just had this image of cooking and how, if anything, when we cook, we got to heat the oven up, right? We got to turn on the fire. We got to get the food going. We got to cook it up. And I believe that that's what God does with us. I believe that we got to put the heat on. We got to stand in the fire, because that is what's going to bring us to intuition, to tasty, yummy life that we can encourage other people to dive into with Jesus. And what's so great about walking in this kind of pain is that we are not alone in it. We are with Jesus when we walk with him. And so the first thing I want to do is I don't want to ever minimize pain. I don't ever want to do what so commonly the church has not learned, and that is dismiss people's pain like it's nothing, right? We have a big God and you just have to have more faith. That's not what I want to do. We all have different kinds of pain. And I think that that needs so much validation. I think that's the nature of Christ in himself. And so I want to go there with you. Okay, like I want to go there with you today on Confidence and Coffee. And I want you to feel that wherever you are. If you're in your car, if you're in your living room, if you are folding laundry, if you're in the bathtub, wherever you are, if you're exercising, I want you to go back to a really present, painful season or moment that you recently had. And I really genuinely want you to feel that. And that may be difficult for you. But the reason I say that is this: I have been there, right? And I'm sure you have had moments where you're like, why me? Why now? Why this? Right? Our biggest question to God is why? And the trials and suffering we experience are not just meaningless. Okay. There is purpose in our pain. And God reminds us of that probably 100 times in the Bible, right? He is always with us. He will never leave us. I was reading First Peter 7:9 this morning, and it talks about cast your anxiety on me, for he cares for you. He genuinely cares about what we go through, and he never leaves us when we go through that, right? He's just as honest as he can be when Jesus walks in. He's like, look, you're going to face many trials of many kinds, but I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. My plans are so good for you. And we have so many prime examples. And I thought of Elijah this morning. In general, Elijah went through so much suffering, and God fed him and helped him rest and clothed him. He did with the Israelites. Their pain and their circumstances never changed, but he was with them and he provided comfort during that time to get them to their what? To their purpose. So there is hope. There is so much more than your pain, and I'm going to help you see that. I'm going to help you today see your pain as a motivation to your purpose, that it's not in vain. And so no matter what you're facing, the first thing I want you to know is this, is that uh, never is a very powerful word. Okay. Never is a very powerful word. There are times where God says he would never leave us. Never is infinite. It means that God will never abandon us no matter what we do, no matter how far we run. He can not leave us. It's not in his nature. If we feel like God is non-existent in our life, that's something that we do need to reflect on. Have we disconnected him? Have we shut him out? But he is never going to actively or presently shut us out. He wants to be with us. And so, no matter what you're facing, know that God is never going to leave you or abandon you. Now, this doesn't mean that, like, with God, everything is fancy and butterflies. We all know that that's not true. It doesn't mean that you're not going to endure trials. It's actually a promise that you will. You will endure it, but it's also a promise that he'll always be with us. And so God's refining fire. God is refining fire. Do you ever feel like you're being tested? Maybe now you feel like that. Have you ever thought, how much more can I take every day? I've probably asked that during seasons where it's like every day I've screamed at him. And in that, thank God he doesn't strike me down, and thank God he's a comforting God. But you're probably thinking, how can I hang on to hope when the heat is so painful? And not only that, it's been turned up another notch because I walk with God. See, God uses the trials in our life to change our character, to purify our hearts, and to beautifully mold us within our suffering as a showcase of his faithfulness. And it's not a selfish thing. It benefits us. This pain benefits us. Sometimes, what does God say? He'll take evil and he'll use it for good. What was meant to hurt you and meant to harm you, God will use for your good, for his glory. And I think that sometimes we like to look at that like, why would you allow me to go through this, God? Why do you allow these things to happen in the world? Why did you not help me out of that situation or that abusive situation? But if you look at it from a different, holier perspective, because God says his ways are not our ways, and we cannot comprehend nor understand his ways. We just ultimately have to trust him. We have to really embrace who he is, character of God, and how much he loves us. And in that, you have to ask for a different shift, a different perspective of your pain. You can look at your pain as, I'm a victim, and why do these things happen to me? And you can walk in that, and it's going to eat you alive. The fire will consume you. It will not cook you up to where you need to be, right? It'll consume you. It'll burn you alive if you do not change your perspective. Okay. And the only way to do that is through Christ, is through the fact that, like, he has allowed you to go through things. He has allowed you to see things in this world because it is bigger than you. And God's glory is good. God's ways are good. They're not bad. They're hard, but they're good and they're worth it. Nothing in this world comes easy. Nothing. And if somebody tells you that it does, they're lying to you. Okay. I want you to, I'm going to challenge you. Let's think of Jesus and the agony he faced on the cross, the beatings, the pain that he went through. Okay. Jesus was in great physical and mental and spiritual distress over nothing he did. Over nothing he did. I'm watching The Chosen right now. This is besides the point, but I'm watching The Chosen right now, and I am in love with this show. I love it. I highly recommend it to anybody. As I watch it, and I fall in love with the character of who Jesus is and the way this man plays the Lord. I know the ending, right? Like I know what's going to happen. And I know that there is good and he's going to resurrect, but the thought of it, we haven't even got there yet. Like, we don't even see him on the cross yet. And I just dread it. I dread knowing I have fallen in love with this man who has done so much in this show and knowing what he's going to face. And he knows it. He knows what he's going to face. That mentally, I can't even comprehend. But his pain and his beatings and what he went through is absolutely so, and he knew it was so much more than him. It was so much more bigger than him. So we can look at that and we can see an innocent man on the cross for nothing. Like, why would God allow that? Or we see this as God designed us to live in the garden with him, pure and righteous and good and peace. And sin has compromised that and has brought hurt and struggles and brokenness and bondage. And the way to pay for something that is not of God was for a punishment that somebody had to take, and it was Jesus Christ. He took on our punishment through love. He took on that pain through love. And if we see pain, the cross of what he did, and we see that, it will transform your life. Your perspective will change, because it won't be about why would God allow that to happen, but that God had to allow that to happen for me, to pay for my sins, to pay for my bondage. And so when I think of that, it's unimaginable. And you kind of you got to ask yourself, was there another way to redeem us? And I don't think that there was, because it wasn't in the nature of God. He was not of sin. He was of perfection. And Jesus faced the last most painful trip that was so crucial to God's refining fire of what he needed to do for his children, for the world. And it wasn't out of weakness. Like, the God's refining fire was not out of weakness and defeat, but out of strength and faith and faith in the Father who loved him. He went through these trials, and he went through the things that we go through daily. He went through all of it because he trusted his Father's heart. He trusted his Father's heart. He trusted him and his heart of love and compassion. He trusted his Father's wisdom and understanding. He trusted everything about God so he could show us that we can too. Because I have to remember that after the cross and after he was beaten and he was killed, he resurrected. And now he sits at the seat of the Father waiting to come get us. And so this is why God did that. And Jesus urges us that we can trust the Father, that we can trust his love and his heart, that we can trust his wisdom and his compassion, and that we can stand in the truth of Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6 that says, do not lean on your own understanding, but in all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Do you hear me today? You have to submit to God. And I want you to write this down. But Ecclesiastes 3:11 says this, he has made everything beautiful in its time. So these are my questions to you as we close today on Confidence in Coffee is this. What is the purpose of trials? Trials are the pain, it's hardship, it's the starvation, it's the isolation, it's the loneliness, it's just everything difficult that we don't understand. What is the purpose of it? Trials are the process of proving the quality of a worth of something or someone. Trials are a test of your faith, patience, or endurance through the process of suffering. Trials in the Greek, is primarily 3 different Greek words. Listen to this, each with a slightly different meaning, yet all reveal God's purpose for them. I'm going to try this. One is Dominican, proven faith. Proven faith. A testing trial proves whether or not your faith is genuine. And it makes your faith stronger in God. It makes your relationship stronger. So I have a lot of people ask me, about my relationship with God, because I hope that I example it, but I'm just very bold about it. And I'm so grateful for the things that I went through, and I'm so grateful for who he's created me to be. And I'm so grateful because I have learned that he is more than enough. God alone got me to where I am today. Nothing else, no one else. I had nothing. God alone did this. And even it's such the way of the enemy, but even then he'll try to say, well, you did it. Well, give yourself some credit. No, I couldn't do it. I was stuck against a wall. I was dying. The fire was consuming me. And God came into the fire. He grabbed my hand. And he says that in the Bible, man. Like, he holds us by our right hand. He held my hand and he walked me through the fire to become the strong, faithful woman of God I am today. Am I perfect? No. No one is. Okay? No one. But I am loved, and I know that because I was saved by God. And so I pray that this is an encouragement to you, that whatever pain or trials or suffering that you're going through today, I want you to know that there is purpose. Jesus had to go through pain because there was purpose. I had to go through the pain that I went through, and I still go through seasons of pain for the purpose of what God is doing in my life, for what God is doing for me, for my healing, for your healing, right? We want to cook something well. If we need to melt something, whatever it is, we got to put the heat to it. We got to put the fire to it. So embrace the fire and trust that God is with you in it. I love you guys. And please do not forget to, if you're watching this on YouTube, to subscribe right now. I'll drop it on the side. Also, to leave a review. It really does help. It makes such a difference if you would just take a minute wherever you are, if it's on any type of podcast platform, and leave a review and share what you got from this today, and maybe your story. You never know what your story or your season could do for someone else. I can't wait to see those. And also, if you do decide to share it on social media, tag me in it so I can also share it and connect with you just to see what God is doing in your life. I love you guys. Don't forget to grab those freebies. I will drop some things and some gifts in the show notes, so make sure you check those out, and I will see you next week.